Welcome to our experiment, the 100-Person Project. Simple questions for 100 people. I'm Bill Carell, and this is my investigation. It's actually a research project to gather data from 100 beautiful human beings for the sole purpose to see what actually happens in the interviews. Now, the questions are going to be all fixed, and the interviews will remain consistent, with the variable being the actual participants themselves. And it's almost as if I'm having you come sit on my porch, Genoveva, to share your ideas so I can learn about people. We're looking forward to what we're going to discover when we're done, and not quite sure what it's going to be, but this is going to be fun. So you'll get to know our guests through the interview, and let's dive in. It's my distinct pleasure to introduce my guests. Well, how about I let you do it for me? What is your full name?
Genoveva Padilla Person.
Lovely. Tell me about that middle name. That's beautiful.
Thank you. So actually, Padilla is because is actually my maiden name. I have to maintain it due to my Native American ancestry.
Nice. Good for you. So what is your favorite nickname that most people don't know?
I would say Viva. And a lot of people call me that because it means life.
It does. Viva la France, right?
Right.
So when did you first notice what color hair you had?
Oh, that's interesting. Maybe when I was younger, I guess. I don't know. I've definitely different color. It's gotten lighter as I've gotten older, for sure.
Yeah, do you have a time when you noticed that you had hair?
Probably, maybe when I was in kindergarten.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always had really, really long hair.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, what is your favorite thing to do to intentionally waste time?
Oh, intentionally waste time. I don't know. I don't really like wasting time, so that's a difficult question. Um, I guess maybe it would be to primp myself, just to, I don't know. I think that's a big time waster.
You spend much time doing that?
Truthfully, possibly. And I know I'm pretty social, so I don't know if that's a time waster. So that's kind of an odd question.
They're all odd.
Yeah.
So we'll move on to the next one. What is your favorite movie to watch alone?
Guilty pleasures, huh? um, I would say it's a Diane Keaton movie, and oh gosh, Nick. I can see his face, and I can't. It was based in, I want to say, off of Cape Cod or something, or the Hamptons, and Diane Keaton. And it was about this couple, or these two that meet. They're both successful. They're both in denial. They've got a lot of life experience. And you know what, the name of that movie actually eludes me, but for some reason it's so peaceful because maybe that it's where I'm at in life, but I'm sorry, the title is definitely escaping me. I'm feeling pressure.
What's unimportant is what the title, what is important is how it makes you feel, and I appreciate you expressing that.
Yeah, I think it's just two people who've gone through life and they're successful, but they're jaded in relationships, and then they're coming to the realization that they want a long-term partner in life that's committed to each other and supportive of each other's endeavors. And I think they form a friendship through an interesting trauma. The gentleman, Jack Nicholson.
Okay.
Something's Gotta Give. That's the name of it.
There you go. See what happens when we take the pressure off?
Yes. It's a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing. Oh,
Mhm.
good. And so you think you'll watch it again sometime this week?
It's a good possibility. Now that you've
Especially now that you
mentioned it, I
remembered the
haven't
name,
watched it in a
right?
while. Yeah.
Excellent. All right, so number 6. If
Okay.
you were to have an action figure made of you, Viva, what superpower would it have, and what would the colors of its uniform be?
Huh. Um, I think the colors of the uniform would be gold, and the superpower that we would have is healing capabilities.
Say some more about that.
Well, my Native American name actually is Medicine Eagle. My father, who is a registered, we're both registered in the Ysleta del Sur Pueblo, which means Little Island of the South. It's
Right?
the south most southern Pueblo people. He actually named me Medicine Eagle because typically I like to make people feel better. So I think that that would be, yeah, my superpower.
It's a
Mhm.
great superpower. You could do a lot with that, couldn't you?
I could. Yeah.
I think you do, as a matter of fact.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. What did you want to grow up to be when you were 5 years old?
A mom. Yeah. Other than that, I really didn't have any idea, and I'm still kind of searching for that as we speak. Now that mom, is empty nesting, um I think it's time for new endeavor. So, yeah. Mhm.
Wonderful. Along those lines, what is your greatest accomplishment?
Hmm. Producing humans that contribute and are kind in this world. Mhm. I think that would be my greatest accomplishment.
It's a pretty darn good one.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Who is your favorite person to listen to?
You.
Say some more about that.
Okay, I will actually. So interestingly enough, we met you know, where at the Chamber of Commerce meeting, at the Willimantic Chamber of Commerce meeting where, correct me please if I'm wrong, but you were the treasurer at the time that I met you. You
Mine
were
might not have been treasurer, but I was definitely on the board.
on the board. Okay. So we had just become the company that I owned had just like blown up exponentially, or was on the cusp, I should say, because it was pre-COVID.
Mhm.
And I remember your kind overall being and approachability. And I felt so comfortable in, talking to you in a new setting and meeting new people and having to introduce my company as, the one of the corporate sponsors for the chamber. And, new settings could often, deem uncomfortabilities, of course. And you certainly, for some reason, were just a comfort. And, I felt an instant connection with you. Yeah.
I feel the same way about you. Like there absolutely was, a connection that was very quick and very easy, no doubt about it. And I appreciate that. It's we've known each other for several years now, and
Mhm.
it's quite a thing to in this podcast for you to mention that you like listening to me, and I do appreciate that.
Perhaps
So I
it's.
will.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to introduce.
No worries. I said I'll try to step my game up a little bit and be continue to be listenable. Okay.
Well, I also wanted to just tell you, your professionalism and your thought processes are most welcome. Your tonality is certainly something that I don't know. There's just such a level of comfort around being around you and in your presence. I think you have a lot of wisdom and life experience, and that you have an aura of good intentions. So
Wow, that is a lot. Thank you.
you're welcome.
I'm going to spend a minute or two after we're done really kind of thinking a little bit about what you're saying. And if there were um, a design to my life many, many years ago, a lot of what you're saying has just come out.
Yeah. Okay, so it
I
was intentional
I
then.
absolutely wanted to be somebody who was not only trustworthy and comfortable, but also very intelligent and also be able to know when to know when to be quiet. So,
Okay.
all right, enough about me. So, please complete this sentence. When I grow up, I'd like to.
When I grow up, I'd like to be able to maintain Maslow's hierarchy of needs comfortably while helping others.
That's very interesting. So, where on the hierarchy would you place yourself?
Where would I place myself? Oh, um, let's see. So the five, and correct me if I'm wrong, are shelter, food, um, heat, shelter, food, heat. What's the other two? Psychological, I think is the other one. So
Yeah,
I
there's
would
the
say,
survival. That's a
what?
survival level. Yeah.
Yeah. So right, survival. I would say that's me right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Stylish survival, I would say.
Oh, thank you. I'm a little bit messy. I just came from the gym from working out with
Good
my
for you.
tribe. Thank you.
I admire that about you. You do get out there and break a sweat, and that's a good thing. It seems like most times we get together, you've just completed some kind of a workout.
Thank you. Yeah. It's helpful overall in your well-being. Yeah. Mhm.
So that's an interesting place for the next question. What's the most important thing in life to you right now?
Yeah. It actually is working out. Yeah. I do that like I look at it like brushing my teeth in the morning. And the reason being, I was in nursing school, and understanding anatomy and physiology of the human body is so important. But it's more than that. It's the endorphin high that you get when once you reach, the aerobic anaerobic stage. And aerobic is of course including oxygen, and anaerobic is lack of oxygen.
Right.
But once your endorphin level gets up there, I call it your happy pills. I'm like, you must be a crazy person if you're not happy once you're done working out. So I call that like taking my happy pill in the morning. And it's not just about that. There's so many different aspects of, working out that I find beneficial to where I'm at in my life right now. And that is a supportive tribe of people. I think there's a movement in this country of, you know, of especially women to support one another. And to not be quote unquote catty and gossipy, and to be able to compliment each other, and want better for each person or as an overall unit. um,
Yeah.
there's something to be said for that, and there's actually tangible evidence which we never had 20 years ago, um, of oxytocin being brought out when you compliment somebody. It actually, elevates the brain levels. So there's multifaceted purposes for exercising. And so where I'm at in my life, it's definitely really important for. It's a platform. Yeah.
Yeah. Baseline for everything, huh?
hmm Absolutely. Mental and your overall well-being.
Very clear. And that says to me that your foundation is strong.
Well, thank you. I try. I think I found something that's working.
Yeah, and you've definitely gotten inside of it both physically and intellectually. It's something that you are on a mastery path for. And the difference between, just doing things like to complete it and doing things to see what it feels like and to experience new elements of yourself, that's the mastery path.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to add in a little bit, the extra benefits are, I had I've lost now nearly 100 pounds since 2007. So it's been
Wow.
long processes. I've pushed myself probably farther than I ever thought that I was capable. But it's a self movement as well, because you're not really, yes, you're competing with others, but no, you're not. You're competing with yourself when
Hmm.
you work out to be better than you were yesterday, whether it be to take a couple extra running steps or, like setting mini goals. And it really translates. And this is, I guess, now that I'm talking out loud and processing, it really translates into life goals. You take a couple extra steps, maybe, you save some more money towards retirement, or you get better credit so that you're able to obtain a nice house, or, go on a nice vacation or whatnot. So, I mean, it really, is parallel along lifelines if you want to take comparisons. So I've lost weight. I've been through a couple car accidents, unfortunately. One of them actually, they I went in because my back was bothering me. And, working on your core and everything is so important. But again, like the overall well being and the health, I could have sat there and said, I'm just going to, feel sorry for myself, pop some pills. And I don't do that. I get up every day and, I push myself to try to do better, to feel better, so it's like I said, it's multifaceted. So I'm sorry to go out on fun tangents. That's what I
Well,
do.
see, this is your time to do that. And as a matter of fact, every time you open your mouth, it gives an insight to the warrior spirit that lives inside of you. And it's really an amazing thing to hear someone who says, I can't picture just sitting around and growing old.
Thank you.
When
See,
so many,
that's why I really love you. I really love you as a good friend, because you are just like, you find that like overall, goodness in people, and you're also inspiring, you inspire me as well. So, and validate perhaps what I'm trying to do as well. So thank you.
yeah, and you do know that, as you said before, the oxytocin that happens in both the giver and the receiver, right? To the
Yes.
point where you're not sure who's giving and who's receiving.
I know. It's a wonderful thing, right?
Yeah, it's like
We're in a co-symbiotic relationship.
simultaneous goosebumps, right?
Yes. Exactly.
Especially in the crown of your head and the back of your arms, and yeah, that's a good way to step into the next question. What would you like to leave in the world after your life is done, Genevieve?
Yeah. So, again, I somehow over the past couple of years, and, what I've shared with you in my personal struggle, um, of, I don't know if I should, I will, my heart got broken. And so, finding my warrior spirit and coming back, um, through all the the tribes of people and the support groups such as yourself, being renamed Viva, which means life, is substantial. So, you know, I've held somebody when they died, one of my customers I had for 14 years. And it's the most humbling and honorable thing I think you can do, is to see somebody out and they trust you to that level. I think people, I'm going on a tangent again, like I always do, but I think people on a, on a would use a death context as it's awful and things like that. But it can actually be one of the most beautiful experiences when you're able to say goodbye to somebody.
Yeah.
I think death, when it's sudden, I actually just had a good friend die yesterday.
Oh,
Last night I received the news, and um, so something I've struggled with is, I want like a best friend in life to hold somebody's hand and die of like a broken heart of true love. In that process, I was with somebody for 25 years and I was betrayed, that I know of concretely, for 10 years, and I was honorable to that person. So the respect was not reciprocated. So, you know, the rest of my life, I want to live it out and possibly find somebody that would do the same thing for me that I would do for them. But when I pass, like, going through the heartbreak and owning the name Viva as life, I didn't realize that I had it inside of me. So I want to live and I want to be remembered for making people happy and feeling better and educating them on that process, and that, you know what, being vulnerable and just being true to yourself, and it's okay, and that you don't have to feel scared about that. I want people to celebrate my life when I die. I don't want somebody to be sitting in a church and saying, not that there's anything wrong with it, but I feel like life should be celebrated. I don't think that it has to be a concrete thing. And I want to be perhaps maybe celebrated for bringing joy and love into people's lives. So,
yeah. I see that tremendous opportunity when there's that exchange, and it's an exchange of power. It's an energy exchange where the trust is so present that it's invisible, and then there's just a moment. And to experience a lifetime of those moments in whatever you're doing, not a bad way to teach other people.
see, you're so eloquent in, how you translate what I just said. So thank you.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I think I feel like I do get you. I feel like there are some things that when you speak, it wakes me up in areas that were not awake, and very much appreciate that.
thank you.
I think that's a great legacy that you just spoke into existence.
Oh, thank you.
And believe it or not, we're at the baker's question. Okay, so when you and I go to our baker and we order a dozen of something, they always give us a 13th, right?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so instead of 12 questions, we've got 13. And here's the baker's question for you.
Okay.
Genoveva, Miss Viva. What what is the thing that most people misunderstand about you?
Hmm. Hmm. I think people underestimate me greatly. Um, it's interesting. I think, you know, um, growing up, because I was a non-traditional student in college, and in the time that I was growing up, we didn't have the advancements again of psychology, where learning disabilities were present or diagnosed.
Right.
There's been such a huge movement for that and a lot more support. Um, One of my dear friends, actually, Peter Valentin, he's local in Lebanon, Connecticut. He just authored a book that is with regard to autism. I was diagnosed with ADHD and as an adult. And so sitting in a classroom for me was extraordinarily difficult. And so a lot of the things that people, you know, look at you sometimes when you can't stay on task or whatnot with the diagnoses of ADHD and you go off on tangents or I hyperfocus. People, I think they misunderstand that for possibly ditziness or, quote unquote, stereotyping that. But if you sit and listen, obviously, I can be articulate and I'm highly intelligent. So I think that's where I'm underestimated quite a bit, So I've been in the presence of people that run multi-billion-dollar companies, not million-dollar companies, but billion-dollar companies.
Yep.
And I didn't realize with what I've done with the company that I previously had, took a lot of strength for me to get through. So I think I'm totally and grossly misunderstood when it comes to intelligence. Mhm.
Check, and check. So, do you have any questions of me?
Yes, I'm curious as to Bill, what do you enjoy out of doing this podcast? And not just particularly mine, I'm saying what you're doing with the podcast in general.
All right. So here's a news flash for you. I love people. Okay.
No way.
Yeah, I don't sugarcoat the word or add any other spice to it. I just plain love people. And I love people who are authentically expressing themselves and who have this access, to a moment of lightness of being and just in the moment discover new things about themselves, in conversation. And it's a joy to me to ask one of these simple questions, and they are very simple, and watch you and others thoughtfully gaze out into somewhere in space and then come back to the gold.
Uh-huh.
It's I had a feeling when I started this about a year and a half ago that we're going to find out that people are not who they're told they are, but they're actually something different than that. And that I had a sneaking suspicion that all of us at the core, we're not that far apart. There's just, the things that we've learned that get in the way of what we know life is about, right? So, what do I get out of it? I get a lot of presence, a lot of little happy thoughts, some caring and sharing, but authenticity it's a really cool thing. And I very much appreciate who you are, who you've been in this podcast, and who you are in my life. You're a wonder, and it's been amazing to spend time with you.
Well, thank you. And you know what? I'm honored to be here. Thank you for asking me and having me here. And I learned something new about you today, and I learned more about myself. And thank you for having me.
You're very welcome, and I hear from people that's kind of what happens when you hang around Bill. So the last thing I want to do and say before we sign off is I want to invite all of you, our listeners, and you too, G. Call somebody, text them, send an email, send a card, a letter, whatever, and just let that person know that the world works because they're in it, and that you love them, and you hope that they're having the best day ever.
Mhm.
And that's
Agreed.
it. Thank you for being a participant in our experiment, and thank you at home for making this all possible. Bye for now.
Bye.
You've been listening to Simple Questions for 100 People, part of the Exvadio Podcast Network. You can find every episode at exvadio.com/podcasts, the Apple Podcast app, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and wherever you find podcasts.